Hello everyone. I think we're about ready to get going here. Let me just make sure that I've got everything set. It looks okay. All right. And Ashley, you can still hear okay?
Yes, you sound great. And we can see your screen.
Okay. All right. Okay. Very good. Well, welcome to our GP product tour. We're going to look at just a handful of slides and then spend the rest of our time actually with the live software. So no one came, I'm sure, to see a PowerPoint presentation, and so, but I just wanted to flip through a couple of things, just if you have not seen Dynamics GP or heard much about it, just to kind of give you the parameters that the software are kind of built around and where it sits with Microsoft and so forth. And so, well, why GP? A good reason is it's simple, and so it's simple to use. If you use Word and Excel and Outlook, PowerPoint, kind of the Microsoft Office suite of products, you'll see GP looks a lot like Microsoft Office, and that's by design. The GP and the Office development team are actually in the same building in Fargo, North Dakota, and so they do a lot of collaboration together. They go to lunch together. They talk about what would make each one better, and so we get the benefit of that in the software. It's proven. I think you'll see that here with the next couple of slides, and we kind of know how it works, and lots of people out there have Dynamics GP experience, or what used to be called Great Plains experience, on their resume. We can put it in the cloud, so if you're making the move to the cloud, Dynamics GP is ready to go. If you want it on your own server, down the hall in your server closet, we can do that just as equally as simple. And so Microsoft's not, they don't have a preference on where the software ends up, and once you have the license, you can park it wherever you like it. And then of course it's a Microsoft product, and most people know that name. And so we kind of talked about the simplicity of it. It does work on every type of platform and device, so if you want to run GP on your iPad or your iPhone or your Android tablet, no problem with that whatsoever. Our web client is HTML5, and so that means it works on any hardware platform or operating system or browser that's out there in the market. Proven, 35 years in market, and so a pretty mature product at this point. Of course, it was DOS. It was actually Apple, Mac, way back in the day, and then went to DOS and then to Windows. We've got about 47,000 and some change Dynamics GP customers across the globe. Of course, a large concentration of that population is right here in the United States, because it is a Fargo, North Dakota based product. It's been in the U.S. since 1981. Large partner channel, so people that do what we do, that help you get your data converted, help you get trained on the software, help you get up to speed on how it works and how to efficiently get it to do what you need it to every day, and of course get it set up properly and get your reports laid out the way that you like them. Lots and lots of people that do that across the globe now. And then we have a lot of industry-specific functionality. So healthcare, for example, we ourselves have been in the healthcare business for many years and have done a lot of things to Dynamics GP to make it fit into the healthcare business. Same with travel and hospitality, tourism, manufacturing, distribution, service, just good core financials. Nonprofit, it's really big in nonprofits. Most all of professional sports in the U.S. use GP for their accounting system, and so you're in good company when you're in the Microsoft Dynamics GP family. And then I mentioned kind of on your terms, if you want it installed there locally on your servers, no problem at all. That's the way we've been doing it for 30 years. There are a number of people that have either moved their existing system to the cloud, or folks that are buying Dynamics GP that just want it in the cloud, and so that's perfectly okay as well. Microsoft does not have a preference either way. They want it to be, again, on your terms, so whatever works for you. One thing to point out, it's the exact same product. There's no difference whatsoever regardless of where we deploy the software. So you're not getting something different from the cloud version that you would if you installed it right there on your own server. The Microsoft Cloud, though, since we're kind of talking about that, you'll notice here some pretty impressive statistics on Microsoft's cloud business. I would draw your attention really to the upper right part of the slide, that they have 34 data centers around the globe. And so that's more than Amazon and Google combined. And so they are very, very, very heavily invested in the cloud business. You'll actually notice the Azure regions kind of, that looks like it's off the tip of Africa there, kind of sitting out in the ocean. And someone called that out a while back and said, hey, that dot is in the wrong place. Well, no, actually it's not. They actually have a data center that's at the bottom of the ocean. And so it's kind of experimental to see if we could start putting things underwater. But it's working well for them, and they do have production data in that facility that's under the ocean. And so again, lots and lots of money have gone into the Microsoft Cloud. Okay, so I think everybody knows the name Microsoft. They spend a lot of money on their products every year to the tune of about $12 billion. You know, that's more than a lot of people in this business even make, even gross in a year. And that's just one major expense that Microsoft has is that R&D budget. And so they invest heavily in their products. They have a limited number of products. So each product gets a very large share of money as this R&D, research and development, which equates to new features that get on your desktop. And they have the ability to put things on your desktop a whole lot faster than really anybody else on the planet. Okay. Let's get through the cartoons there. As far as the roadmap, so we're in 2017 calendar right now. So at the end of this calendar year, probably sometime between Thanksgiving and the first part of November or first part of December, we'll actually have GP 2018 released. And so what we're going to look at today is GP 2016 R2, and that is the current shipping product. But they release a brand new version about once a year, usually in the fall, kind of early winter time frame, and then they do service packs throughout the year as things that they might have finished that they want to get into the program. They deliver those through service packs. If they have to fix something or they tweak the code a little bit to make it better and faster, they'll do that through a service pack. And sometimes we'll see those quarterly if there's a lot of stuff they've got going, but more frequently it's been just twice a year. So sorry about that. Okay, so with that, let's get rid of the slides and we will jump right into Dynamics GP. So I've gone ahead and logged in. Just very quickly, I'll show you kind of the login screen. There's room for unlimited companies. I just have one in my sample environment here, but I have room for any number of companies and you know, have a good password and security as I go to connect to the system. We don't let just anybody connect up here. But once I log in, I land at what's called my home page. And so I should note that I'm in as a system administrator, and so that means that there's no security being applied to me whatsoever. I have complete reign of everything in the system, so no restrictions at all. So keep that in mind. Of course, in real life, you know, different people can see different things and so forth. And so I land on my home page, and my home page really is just a collection of things that I've decided that I want available to me in short order here, so I can navigate through the system directly off my home page if I like. And you'll see a lot of different things happening here. I've got some text information. I've got some charts and graphs kind of up here at the right top quadrant. As I scroll down, I see I've got some time card information here, so I could put time in, and I've got the ability to put expenses in. I've got some requisitions here way down at the bottom right where I might be working on purchase requisition, or maybe I'm an approver. And so this is really all configurable by each user. So all of us would have a different home page most likely based on what we're doing in the organization. And so the idea with the home page is to bring things that I work on every day really out to where I can easily get to them. So I don't have to navigate menus. I don't have to remember where something was or how I got to it. I put that on my home page, and then from there I can fire it off and away it goes. And so, for example, as an employee of this company, if I wanted to view my W-2, with one click there I could go in and I see a list of the different years there. I only have 2017, of course, and so but it allows me to go in and pick up a copy of my W-2 if that's something that I would like to have. And so again, the idea is just these are all shortcuts, get me to where I want to be in very quick order. And so if I run reports, for example, I might run the open accounts payable, and so with one click I have the ability to generate that report, and there it is up on my screen. Of course, once I generate a report, I've got mine set to go to the window so you all can see it, but I could have had that go to the printer as well. And let me just resize that a little bit. And so once I have a report up on the screen, and this is just a traditional kind of out-of-the-box payables aging, I can send this out in email. So if I want to send this out to someone in PDF form, I can do that. The system will go create a nice PDF of the report, attach it to my email, and get it ready for me to send. If I do want to print it, though, and need something on paper, I can easily do that. I can grab any printer when I click the print button there, any printer that this computer has access to, so whatever I would normally see in Word or Excel or just from Windows, you'll see I've got a number of printers there available. And so I can print directly from a report that I've generated to the window here as well. And so all of kind of the out-of-the-box reports work the same way and kind of have the same look and feel to them. But we'll look at some other reports kind of as we go on in the next few minutes. And so, so that's kind of my reports, those things that I run on a regular basis. My quick links are menu choices. So these are windows that I would work in on a regular basis. And so if I maybe work on, reconciling the bank accounts, you'll see it opens the bank reconciliation window here. I've got a number of bank accounts that I could work on. You'll see the red fields as I open and close the different windows. Well, those fields are required, and so as a new user to the software, that helps me to figure out what I need to know if I want to proceed. So if I want to save or process something in the window, those things that are in red have to be provided to the system. Now, I haven't turned on red just to call that out. They don't have to stay red. After I get to know the software, sometimes people don't like red, or maybe they can't even see red, and so I might turn them another color or just turn them off completely. Sometimes we'll just bold those for people, but that's all stuff you do. That's not stuff that you need us for at all. It's just settings in your profile here. So lots and lots of choices there. Let me go back to the time management here a little bit. And so I might want to enter some sick or vacation time. And so I could do that if I was a Dynamics GP user. And of course, this assumes that I might be using the payroll system. But there's also an app for that. And so let me go grab my time app. And so once I fire this up, there it comes. So you'll see my my Dynamics Time Management app, and of course this runs on again any device. And so I'm running this on Windows 10 right now, but I could do this from my phone as well as my computer, my laptop, or my tablet. And so if I was planning some time off tomorrow, I can right-click there and say, I really feel a sick day coming on, so I'm going to put in for 4 hours of sick time. Of course, we don't generally schedule sick time, right? But I could do that with vacation, or if I had anything else kind of in my bank here based on my company rules. This is just sample information here, but I'm going to go take that off so I don't get in trouble. But I can see now as a user the different time cards that I've actually submitted here for different time periods in the system. I can see historical information, what I've turned in to my boss, so whoever's going to approve the time, I can view that here. Of course, the time that I have saved, I can still call up and work on and keep track of things here. And so that app, of course, is part of the system as well. And I usually like to at least make sure that people know that there are apps in your app store, whether you're on an iPhone or a Windows phone or an Android phone. There are apps that you can go grab today that are free that would work with Dynamics GP. If I'm going to be requisitioning things, so maybe I don't really have any access or business inside of Dynamics GP, but I might want to be someone that requisitions supplies or things to be purchased. And so I have that ability as well. And so I've got a rejected requisition here. Let's go see what's going on with that. And so as the system kind of loads that up, the requisition user can be a very light, kind of very scaled down user, which means very inexpensive, and they can actually log into the system and enter requisitions. They could pick up a copy of their W-2, they could enter time, and kind of do those employee things that are not really meant for full users in the software. And so Microsoft has really 3 different user types, and so there's that kind of employee self-service, which allows us to do those things as I just described. So enter a requisition, enter time, pick up a copy of my W-2, and request a day off type thing. And then there's a limited user, which is kind of the next level up, and a limited user can go anywhere and do anything that we give them security to. They just can't actually enter data, and so a limited user is designed to run reports, to look up data, do inquiries, go retrieve anything at all out of the system, but that user cannot actually enter data or add data to the software. And so to do that, we would want a full user, and that's what most accounting users would be, is where they have access to anything and everything. Of course, we still have the security model that we put on top of that user type to then decide what windows they have access to and what reports they can run and so forth. And so I don't know why that took a couple of extra minutes to get going, but you see here now that we've got a list of all my requisitions. Of course, I just have the one in my system here, so not much there to look at. But from that requisition, I can actually drill down to where I put that in, and we'll see that requisition was actually rejected. So we'll go take a look at why that requisition was denied. And so, and of course, when I say it's rejected, I'm referring to the workflow that is part of the system that allows me to set up the path that the requisition should navigate to be approved and to ultimately turn into a purchase order. And so that might be a different path based on different users. It could be based on what I'm buying. It could be based on the GL accounts that I want to charge to. So if I have a group of accounts that I'm responsible for the budget, then I would only have access to those accounts. And if I used one of those accounts, my requisition would travel the path that to the approver for that particular budget area, or to ultimately to some type of manager. And so here's my requisition. Let me just click on the view history here, and of course I have this designed to fail a few times automatically, and so that way we've got some things in here to look at. And so here, and let's see, it looks like that may not have populated yet out in webland, so we'll give it just a second here to get out to you folks that are viewing it. But this screen is going to show us the history of the requisition, and so all of the times that I tried to submit this, and if it was rejected and why, and this is a permanent record of the route that this particular requisition has traveled. until ultimate and final approval. And so here we can see on the left, kind of in the tree view, we can see that I submitted it, looks like 4 different times here. And with those 4 red X's, I can see that it was in fact denied 4 times. And so I'm going to have to come up with a better reason why I need to buy this, because the reason I'm giving is not, it's not working. And so up at the top part of the screen, we can see that it was rejected, and so it's still in rejected status, which I could tell from my home page, because it shows that way down here in the bottom, we'll see it peeking behind these other windows. We see kind of a summary list of my requisitions, and I see that I submitted it. I've got the date information there, but the status today is it in fact is rejected. And so so that looks like that's not going to cooperate with us and be very speedy here. So we'll kind of move on if it lets us, and looks like it's still thinking there. And so sometimes we get a window stuck behind, but it doesn't look like we have. So we'll just let it do its thing here. And so this is a good reason why we run the software on servers and not on little tiny laptops. And so sometimes they take a little bit more horsepower than what we have available. And so, okay, well, we'll go back to our home page here, where at least we can talk about things. And so let's see, under quick links, again, I put on here what would be important for me. We would all have different things on our page, so really, no 2 home pages would ever look alike. And so, now it's going to try again. And so, my home page and your home page would be completely different based on the job that we're doing. And even if we had the same role in the organization, we still most likely would have a different looking home page. And so, well, I ran through this screen here a little bit ago, about an hour ago, and of course, before you all joined, it worked perfectly. So let me see if I can force a few of those closed. So we'll try that and see what happens. And so, yeah, that thing is just wanting to, it really wants to do it for us, but for some reason it just really isn't going to. All right, well, at least we're back to our home page here. And so, and probably not going to let me move. All right, let me do the inevitable here, and I'm not sure what happened, but it's just, let me force this down. It does not make for a very good presentation when the software gets hung up, but that's usually always the fault of the hardware. It's very, very rare that the actual software would get hung up, because it's actually relying on the hardware. And so we'll just start it fresh here. And again, the laptops are not generally what you'd consider server machines, and so we do run software on them for things like this, but if you were to put multiple users on the system, running on a laptop is not really the best place to try to do this. And so sometimes it just gets a little overheated, so to speak, or a little overwhelmed. So that'll come back up here in just a second, and we'll kind of finish up looking at the home page, and then we'll branch out into a few other areas of the system and see what other kind of goodies that are available in there for us. One thing, while it's loading my home page back up here, we do have the ability to have what we call unit accounts, and a unit account is a non-financial account. And so, well, what's a non-financial account? Well, it's an account, but we don't track dollars and cents. We don't track debits and credits in that account. And so here's an example of a couple of unit accounts that I have in the system here. and you'll see that I'm tracking things. Let me drag that down. I'm tracking things like the number of telephones, employee headcount, square footage, fixed assets, and so on. And I can enter transactions into a unit account just like I can a financial account. And so, well, why would I want to do that? Well, when I get to reporting, I might actually want to show sales by square footage, or I might want to show my rental expense based on the head count that's in a particular department. And so I can call these non-financial amounts into my financial reporting system and use these in my reports. And so that makes for a very complete package when we actually get to reporting. The other thing we can do is, let me start with the fixed here, we can actually do allocations. And so here I'm allocating utilities expense, and I'm allocating, instead of my utilities expense account, what I'm doing is every time I use the utilities expense account 000619000, I'm telling the software I really don't want to keep any dollars there, but what I want you to do is break these, whatever I put in there, to break those dollars down and these percentages into these other accounts. And so here I've got, you know, kind of division 100, division 200, 300, down to 600. My utilities just happens to be account 6190 in each division, and that's just good planning on my part. It's not at all required, but this is a way for the software to do allocations for me and actually do the math and move the dollars around without me doing anything. But while we're here, we should talk about the account. So you'll see I've got kind of a 3-digit account, a 3, 4, and 2 account segment here. And so let me go into where I have that set up. And so you'll see that there's my 3, 4, and 2. I've got division, account, and department. That's just personal preference. That's not anything that's hard-coded or required. But there are 2 things that are hard-coded, and I'll draw your attention to that up here at the top. The maximum account length is 66 alphanumeric characters, and so that means that my GL account can never be longer than 66 characters, and that could be alpha, you know, codes or numbers, but that is a limitation of the system, is I can't go beyond 66. Now, in doing this for about 22 years, I've never actually seen anybody want to even get close to 66. So we don't generally see that as a problem, but that is a maximum length of the account. And then within that 66 alphanumeric characters, I can actually have 10 dashes. So that means 10 of these. So division, account, department, I could have 7 more and split my account up into 7 additional groupings for a total of 10. And so, and again, that's a hard-coded limitation in the software, is 10 breaks or 10 dashes in my account segment. Again, that's pretty liberal as far as space. And so you'll see in my company here that we're looking at today, I'm using the account length of 9, which is the 3, 4, and 2, and then 3 segments, so 1, 2, and 3. And of course I can name these, you know, whatever I wanted to. I just happen to name them division, account, and department, but I can type any name in there that I like. And so, so that's a little bit about accounts, one way to do allocations. The other way that we can do allocations is variable. So a fixed allocation means that we're going to allocate 5% of utilities to a certain account, and until I go change that 5%, the system's going to do 5%. Well, sometimes I don't know the percentage, and so here is rent, and I'm still going to allocate in a similar fashion where when I post something to just 6180, I'm going to have Dynamics GP reallocate that entry into the 6 different divisions here that I have for rent. But you don't see any percentages here like we did for utilities, but when I highlight one of these, what we do have is what's called a breakdown account. And so what that means is Dynamics GP is going to look at one of my unit accounts, and in this case it's going to look at square footage, and whatever the square footage is for division 100, based on the total of 100 through 600 in my sample here. It's going to take the square footage for Division 100 as a percent of the total, and it's going to go grab that much of my rent and put into account 161.80.00. And so this is called variable because every month I could come in and change the square footage for Division 100, and then every month when I post rent, I would get a different allocation of rent to Division 100. Now, square footage probably doesn't change so frequently, so maybe something would be more reasonable like head count or number of computers, or sometimes people do number of telephones or number of transactions, and that's how we allocate some of the general and administrative costs back into some of these other departments. And so the point being is Dynamics GP has a couple of different ways to do allocations. A lot of times people ask if they can do that. A couple of different ways to do it, and those are kind of how we go about that. And so kind of working back up towards the top here, and this one I'm going to make a little bit bigger. And so you notice now that I changed my focus of my home page. So I want to spend time and effort looking at my charts and graphs and key performance indicators. And so with one click, I have the option of making this particular area, and of course I could do it with any of them. If I wanted to do it with my quick links, that's fine. But I can change the focus of the page that I'm driven into this particular area, and then everything else gets tucked along either the left side or the right side or the bottom. I have my setup to go to the right there, but that's just me. And so let's scroll through some of these charts. And so we see here that maybe as a business executive, I don't want to go run a whole bunch of reports and try to dig through a whole bunch of information. I really just want a snapshot of what's happening kind of under the hood, so to speak, in my business. And so this is an easy way to do this, and that's fine if I'm a Dynamics GP user, but again, not everybody is. And so earlier comment applies that we can deliver these charts and graphs and KPIs out on any device to any operating system, to anyone that is logged into our network based on their security. And so you might have the CEO on vacation, pulls out his iPad or her iPad, and you know, she wants to look and kind of get a picture of what's going on in the business. That's a very easy way to do it and not have to bother anybody by sending reports and emailing and so forth. One way to look at this data is what we're seeing here. I'm going to open my browser, and I happen to open Internet Explorer here. And so I'm going to go into where those charts and graphs are located. And so as the browser takes a second there to load that up, what we're going to see is I have a portal here, and here's the company we're in today, Fabricam, and all the different parts of the system that I have installed. And so if I drill into financial, I've got a number of reports out here that can be run. And again, think about this running on any browser, on any device. And I'm going to drill into my charts and KPIs. So here's all the metrics, if you will, that we're seeing inside of GP. And so let's see, I think that cash position detail is what I'm looking at. And so I'm running this now, but you'll notice I'm running it through a browser. And so I'm simulating this running on another device. And so here you see the same information, whether I'm seeing it inside of my software, Dynamics GP, or in this case I'm looking at it through Internet Explorer, through my browser, and it's the same version of the data. And so this really opens up the window into what's happening here with the organization to anyone that has a connection to our system or to our network. Okay, so lots and lots of those. We got about 200 of those that come out of the box. Of course, we can change any of those up, show you how to change them. You can create your own. You don't have to live with what Microsoft did, but they give us a couple hundred of those to get going. And what you're seeing on my screen today is all out-of-the-box stuff. I haven't done anything or added anything to it. This is all the way that it ships from Microsoft, including the sample company that we're using today. That comes from Microsoft as well, so you can always go in there and kind of play around. And so the last area then on my home page is really this to-do area. And so you'll see here I've got some reminders happening, and as I hover over each one, I've actually got a hyperlink here down into something more, I guess. And so if I click on the customers over their credit limit, that opens another window, and we see here that window is called Smart List, and Smart List is a way for users to query out data kind of at random, ad hoc, in their own format. So it's more free form, not a report per se, so we don't have some programmer in some closet somewhere deciding how we want to look at the data. It's really up to us. And so here I've got a list of customers over their credit limit. Well, that's what it was called, and sure enough, when I clicked on it, that's what I've got here. And so that's helpful. That's maybe good to know. What I might want to do is do something with this. And so I'm going to use Microsoft Word, which you'll see up here. And because I'm in the customer area, now it senses that I might want to prepare a customer letter or maybe a collection letter. So maybe a collection is appropriate here because I've obviously allowed these people to go way over their credit limit, and I might have a hard time getting paid now. But I'm going to prepare a customer letter, and we've got about 50 word letters that are in template form that come with the software. Of course, same rule here. We can use what Microsoft has done, which is what you're going to see today. We can edit any of these, or we could create unlimited Word templates of our own and just totally ignore what Microsoft has. So a lot of times people will use these as a starting point. They'll make some modifications and then do a save as and create their own. And so here are the customer letters that come with the software. I might maybe do an adjustment to the credit limit here. And so, well, you know, maybe these guys, I'm going to kind of wait and see what happens. So I'm not going to adjust their limit. So I'm going to do these, what do we have, 5 there. And so then it says, well, you know, how do you want the letter signed? And so I'll just go with what we have there. And when I click Finish, I'm going to get a mail merge between the Word template and my Dynamics GP system. And so there's Word down here. And so now I should have 5 letters. And this is just coming straight from the template saying, hey, we're adjusting your credit. And so I guess that's one way to fix it, is just up their limit. And so there's the 5 letters that I had ticked off. Of course, once we're in Word, you know, this is Word. So I could do whatever I would normally do in Word here. I don't have any restrictions now on my Word versus my GP. And so now what I can do if I decide I want to edit this, you know, I could pull in the actual credit limit and say your credit limit is being adjusted from, and then pull that actual value in, and then maybe have a 2 in there and either write in or type in what the new limit's going to be. And so, you know, I have all kinds of opportunities here to make changes to these letters. But once I have them in Word, then they're Word documents. So whatever I normally do to get these out to the customers, I might print them and fax them, or print them and email them, or I might drop them in the U.S. mail, or however I normally communicate would be what I'd want to do there. And so, so that's good. That's a good thing to be able to kind of connect those. But let's do something a little more complex here. And so I'm going to go back kind of behind the scenes, and we see that there's a whole group of folders here. So the different parts of my Dynamics GP system are kind of tucked away back here. And let's go into purchasing, and let's go into vendors. And again, remember, I have unlimited security. And so here's a list of all my vendors in the software, so not too many of them. And this is just kind of demographic. So this is good if I'm going to send a holiday card or something. This would be somewhat helpful. But let's get the software to do a little work for us here. And so what I can do is go up under columns, and I can take things off of my smart list that I don't want. And so maybe I don't know their vendor ID. I don't refer to them by ID. I know them by name. And so we'll just clean that up. But then I want to add some things, and because I have security to do it, I'm going to add the 1099 type, the 1099 amount year to date, and then what I'm trying to get at is do I have their federal tax ID number? And so we just kind of finished 1099 season, and so there's the tax ID number. And so I'm going to pop that in, and well, this one's kind of important to me, so I'm going to put that right up here by vendor name. And then when I click OK, the system returns back the data in the format that I asked for. And so what I want to do is see, do I have to send these guys a 1099 for the year? And if I do I have their tax ID number? Because, you know, as we just left January, that was the time to make that happen. Well, I don't want to wait until January 30th or 31st and find out that, oh, I don't have their tax number and I'm scrambling trying to get it. And maybe I'm late for the filing deadline. And so this is good, but, you know, I've got a lot here that they're not even set to get a 1099, and even some that are, I haven't paid much. And so, you know, really I need to clean this up because not all these are problems, and maybe I don't have any problems. So I can use the search capability here, and what I want to do is say, first, do I even have a 1099? And if I do, I'm going to look for 1099 is set to miscellaneous. And so, and then if I do, I want to see, well, did I pay them anything? So I'm going to say if their tax or if their 1099 amount is greater than $600, and those are really the ones I'm concerned about. And then what I want to do is say, okay, lastly, if those conditions exist, do I have their tax number? And so I'm just going to say if their tax ID number is equal to nothing, to blank, because if I have their tax number, I don't care about those. Those are good. I don't want to see those. What I do want to see is if I have a 1099 vendor and I've paid over the 600, if the tax number that I have on file is empty, so if it's blank, those are really the ones that I want to know about. And so when I click OK, the system requeries back, and so now I actually do have some problems here. And so I can save this as a favorite, and so 1099, we'll just call it demo list here. And so I'm going to put that as a favorite, and I'm also going to create a reminder, which means it's going to pop up on my home page, and the software is saying, okay, well, I'll put it on your home page, and when do you want it to show up there? Well, if the number of records, so if the 1099 vendors that are problems, if it is greater than 0. So if I have none, I don't care, but if I have just one, I want to see it. And so with that, it'll put it on my home page, and it also saved it there. And so I can come back in and you know, maybe a couple of weeks from now or a few days from now, I'm checking. I just come into purchasing. I know it's under vendors, and there's my 1099 demo list. And when I click on it, it brings the list back up. I don't have to rebuild it or remember anything about it. Now, of course, we already saw how we could prepare a customer letter. I could do the same thing here, is prepare a vendor letter. Microsoft, I happen to know, actually has a request for the W-9 form to collect that number. And so I could proceed just like I did with the other customer side and hopefully collect those TINs. Once I get it, and if I go put it in, then of course that vendor is going to drop off the list. And so once the list is down to nothing, then I'm in good shape. So what I'm going to do is just kind of toggle off and back on my home page here to force it to refresh quickly. And so you'll see now on my home page, I have 1099 demo list. There's 7 of them, and as that ticks down and it's 0, that will drop off my home page. But if I want to see the list, I can come back and just with one click get back to the data. Of course, I could send this out to Excel if I wanted to. I could print this off, any number of things here as I continue to work with the data. And so let's, for the last couple of minutes here, just branch off of the home page and go into some of the more detail. As I travel into purchasing, which is kind of where my vendors are and my purchase orders and so on, I might want to do a little research on a particular vendor. I can also rearrange this page just like I can my home page. So, you know, if I like utilities up at the top there and reports over here, I can rearrange this any way that I like. I can also clean this up. So if I say, well, you know, I really never go into setup or utilities, I don't even know what that stuff is. I can clean those things off my page and reorganize it any way that I work, because Microsoft realizes that we all work differently and we all do things and accomplish things in a different manner. And so maybe I want to do a little research on a vendor, so I'm going to use my all-in-one view here. And so this brings up what looks to be a busy screen. I'm going to grab Advanced Office here. And so now here I see the screen starts to populate with POs, receipts, invoices. Let me see, I'm going to turn my history on here. Yeah, so I do have some things in history, and so I'm going to populate those. I've got returns and credits. And so what this does is allow the user to see everything there is going on with a particular vendor. Of course, you can do this with a customer, with an inventory item as well, but I've got a lot of data in my vendor system here. So maybe I want to see this payment right here, for example. I want to see which invoice that particular payment paid. And so as I tick that, the screen clears and it shows there's a receipt here. Looks like it has not yet been invoiced, so maybe I made a prepayment on it or a deposit, but this receipt is actually hooked to that payment. And so as I toggle through these things, I can see if this payment actually paid any of the invoices here. Let me turn my history on there. So there we go. And so as I toggle this now, that'll make a little more sense. You'll see now that this payment is actually hooked to this invoice. This invoice is hooked back to this receipt. Had there been a purchase order that got received, and that PO would have shown up here as well. And so now maybe I don't know the payment. Maybe I just know the invoice. I say, well, this invoice, I want to see, has it been paid? So I tick that. Oh, yes, well, right here, it's been paid on this particular date, and there's my check number 2038. And of course, if I want to drill on that payment, I can drill back into the software, and I can see, in fact, that that was true, that I did write check 20038 drawn on Uptown Trust to Advanced Office. I can click on the Apply button, and I can see, in fact, that that invoice 2068 was the invoice and the only invoice that was on that check. If I needed to recreate that check stub for any reason, I can do that just by clicking the button, and then I see here that a copy of the remittance or the check stub, it was only one invoice, but if I had multiple invoices, in this area down here towards the bottom would list all those other invoices that were being paid on that check. And so anywhere you see the blue, you can drill down. If I want to see the actual invoice, I can drill back on that, and there's the receipt entered as the invoice. It was tied to a PO. I probably deleted that PO out of the system, is why it's not out there. And so I might want to make a note here, and so I have the ability to click on the notepad, and I can type notes here, and so that's good. That's a little bit of fun, that I have the ability then to put some notes. You'll see I've got some lines on the pad showing me. I might look at it 5 years from now. Those lines will be there, which tells me there's something back there, and so that's good if I do a little typing. What might be better, though, is if I attached a document. And so when I click on the paperclip, I actually do have, as part of my Windows printer, I have a scanner, although I'm not connected to it right now. So the software's going to check to see, do you have your scanner on out there? So it'll take just a second here to determine that I don't have it. But once the document attach window opens up, I have then the ability to attach a document. So any document in any document in any format can be attached to the software, and so you know, it doesn't have to be anything in particular. So if we can get it in electronic form, we can actually get it onto the system here. And what that will do is make a permanent copy of the document. So even if the original got deleted off the network drive, that's okay. I still have my copy inside of the system here, and so it's not, it's no longer tied to the original because it makes its own copy. And so there we go, finally. And so here you'll see the scan button, which is grayed out there. That's what it was working on to decide if it should light that up or gray that out. I'm just going to use the attach, and I can go out and get anything, again, that might be in any format here. Let me find one that, here's a good one. There's got to be something here, so we'll just grab a PDF there. And so from within GP then, if I highlight it, I can actually open that document and take a look at it, and so I can always view it. If I want to delete the document, I can, although it keeps track of who deleted it in case I shouldn't have. And so we've got that sitting out there. And so you can scan directly into the system. You can attach documents that are already scanned at the time of transaction, or you know, I'm doing this kind of in history, so maybe I forgot to do it during the transaction. That's perfectly okay. And so this gives me a good just kind of snapshot of what's going on. So just one or two more things here as we kind of wind down. I'm going to flip into my Excel reports area. Now remember, I'm still on the purchasing section here, the purchasing tab. And so we have also a couple hundred Excel reports. So if you don't like the off-the-menu reports and the charts and KPIs that you saw on my home page, we've got a couple hundred of those. We've got 200 or 300 Excel reports, and Microsoft has built for us. In each series, meaning financial, sales, purchasing, we have a dashboard. And of course, we can have unlimited dashboards, but Microsoft built one to kind of get us going here. And so you see here, I have a purchasing dashboard, and it's actually multi-part here. So I can kind of take a look and see what's going on with my vendors. If I have outstanding POs, dashboard in this example is kind of a combination of charts and graphs and then raw data. And so, but here, if I'm looking at quantity to order, I probably don't care about 0, but I might care about 1 or 5. And so I can easily sort the data to the quantity that needs to be ordered based on the rules and so forth that I have in the software, and get to those line items very, very quickly. If I tab way over here and want to see vendor balances, very easy to do that as well. On the left, I've got all vendors. On the right, it looks like I've got my top 10 here that I owe money to. And so another way to get information out to people that might not be Dynamics GP users, but instead just need to view the data. And so we'll close that out. I will toggle over to financial. Financial, again, being general ledger and fixed assets and bank reconciliation and so forth. And I'll show you the financial dashboard. That one's a little bit more extensive. And again, same rule applies. We can edit this stuff if we don't like what Microsoft did. But we've got the date slider on here. Now, I've got mine set to quarters, but we could change it to any component of the year we have. And here I might want to see what we did in the second quarter of 2017, which is good since that hasn't happened yet. So it's good to know what's going to come. But, you know, I might want to take a look at the last, who knows, maybe 8 or 9 quarters. And yes, I could go run a bunch of reports and look at that, you know, quarter by quarter or year by year. But this makes it very simple. As I kind of scroll this through here, you'll notice my graph changing dynamically. And so that makes it very simple to, again, get your hands on the data in very, very short order. And so we've got some ratios here where we're calculating kind of just standard accounting ratios. I've got all the accounts that roll into my net income being pulled out. And again, I've got my slider here, so if I want to check net income for any period in the system, I can easily do that. I've got a section here for just revenue, cost, operating expenses, and so on. And so the idea is that we really don't have any limits here on how we can view the data, how we can get to the data. Some people like Excel, so that's fine. Excel can get to the data for you. Some people are GP users. They can get to the data from within GP. Some people might do it on their mobile device, so that's fine. We do that as well. No restrictions really at all. And so the last thing here, let's just take an invoice that might be out in the system, and this is my order entry screen here. And if I go back to invoice, I think it's 66, I might want to email this invoice out. And so I've got this set up to send an email. Of course, I can print it as well, but when I click the email, it's just going to ask me, I am off my network here today, it's going to ask me to log in. And so that will then go ahead and generate the invoice out. I can have invoices and purchase orders go out in PDF format, in Word format, in HTML format, or the Microsoft XPS format. And so either of those are certainly workable. So I'm going to go grab my email here, and we'll let that get connected up here as that invoice should be coming along, and go back to the home page. And so I'm actually at the Microsoft Office here, and their internet is not as extremely fast as what you would hope today. So there, it looks like it is right there. And so here's the invoice. I've got it going out to PDF. And so here, a nice document that actually is rendered from Microsoft Word that just came in, invoice 2266. And of course, we could have attachments if we had a terms and conditions sheet or anything like that. We can attach to the transaction as well and have the software automatically pull those things out for us. And so, all right, so with that, that's a very, very, very quick high-level overview of many, many different things. Ashley, do we have any questions sitting out there, or if someone has a question, we can chat through those?
There was a question submitted. Should legacy GP ERP customers go for Dynamics 365, or should they stay on GP? In other words, when would you suggest one versus the other option?
Yeah, so a good question, and one we hear a lot. Most people that are on GP are going to stay there. Dynamics 365, which is only hosted by Microsoft, and so we can't install that locally. That's a Microsoft-hosted product only. It's actually a different product. Its foundation is Dynamics Nav, or what used to be called Navision, and which is a great product, and we sell a lot of Navision, or Nav. But most people on GP are going to stay because the 365 product, the financials piece, which is kind of the lower end piece, is not anywhere near the functionality of what GP is today. Now, in a couple of years, and that could be a year or 2 or 5, or who knows, but in a few years, you know, Microsoft will have a lot of stuff in 365, and it might be a good option. But today, it's very, very basic. And so think about QuickBooks or Peachtree. It's really just financials. And you know, you've got order entry and inventory and so forth, but it's very, very basic even in those areas. You cannot get to the database because Microsoft is hosting it. And so if you're used to doing integrations and doing things kind of at the database level, can't do that because it's, you know, Microsoft has it on shared servers, and so they don't give anyone access to the what we call the back end or the back side of it, the database side. And so integrations are a little challenging. So if you have integrations that you're doing with Dynamics GP, those may or may not work with Dynamics 365. And so they're really not comparable products today, and it would be very, very difficult, I think, for most people, because it would be all but for a few would be taking a step backwards as far as what you have available as far as functionality. Now, again, in a few years, I'm sure, you know, that comment would change.
Great, thank you. And yeah, the only other question that we got was if this session is being recorded, and yes, it is. We will send all the attendees the recording after the session.
Okay, well, I think that's about it for today. So thank you all for attending. Hopefully you saw something you didn't know. If you're on GP or if you're not on GP, you might have learned a little bit about it. It's a great product, and you have a great family to be part of with Microsoft and lots of people that know it. So thank you, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, bye now.